Hello, 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 welcome, welcome on board. Hello, comrade, welcome, welcome on board. Abu, welcome on board. I'll go find Yakene Abufu. Welcome on board. Kindly share as you join. Kindly share as you join. Find some music. Hello, 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 hello. Kindly join, kindly share as you join. Let us start. I'll be starting in the next 3 minutes. So as you join, kindly share and invite your friends. Hello everyone, welcome, welcome on board. My Amber strongest, welcome on board, Comrade Erica. Hello everyone, welcome on board, welcome. Thank you for making our time to be here. Welcome on board. Share and invite friends and let us start in the next 2 minutes. Welcome, Comrade Rene Nubafu. Abalaleta. Welcome on board. Patriotic salute, my ever national chair. Welcome on board. Greetings, 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 and welcome. So I'm gonna start with the national anthem in like 1 minute. Okay, I'm just gonna start with the national anthem right away. Hail this land of glory, we Ambazonia pledge our loyalty. Praise the Son, our Savior, who granted us a freedom, allegiance to the hero, who bore the Lord with your glory to glory, we rise and never to fall. Here in a nation flowing with milk and honey, glory, glory, glory to the Father for making a nation a joy forevermore. Ambazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty, meeting our need. And your children shall be like the stars above, the Most High God being the watchman of His name. Ambazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty, meeting our need. And your children shall be like the stars above, the Most High God being the watchman of His nation. Thank you. Hello everyone, thank you very much. Thank you for making our time to be here. We are in the middle of a busy working day, and if you did take our time to be here with me this hour, then I just want to say thank you. Thank you for taking the issues of Ambazonia very, very important. Thank you so much. And like I mentioned on my timeline, we have 6 very important things or topics to discuss today. And before we start, I would like us to observe a minute of silence for our fallen heroes and to all those who have gone before us. Our generals, our brothers, our sisters, our commanders, every Ambazonian hero that has fallen because of this revolution. Let us observe a minute of silence for them. And may the souls of the departed rest in peace, or maybe not. So we just want to honor our heroes. We want to honor our fighters on ground zero. I want to use this opportunity to thank every Ambazonian fighter on ground zero. All those who are giving up their lives, all those who are putting their lives on the line to make sure that we one day stand and declare that we are a free people. I just want to use this opportunity to thank them and tell them that we can never pay them back for all the incredible job they are doing. We can never really repay them for the sacrifices they are putting up. We can never really pay them for their determination, for their steadfastness. We will forever remain indebted in gratitude to them all for what they are doing, facing the bullets every day for our sakes, for all of our sakes. So what can we say? We just say thank you and keep on doing what you're doing for Mother Ambazonia. You will forever be remembered in the history books of Ambazonia. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And quickly into why we are here today. Like I said, we have 6 important topics that we want to talk about today. And the first one on my list here is actually about the arson attacks on our schools, on our hospitals, on our villages, on our churches, and our various communities within Ambazonia. Ambalanders. Whew. We've all observed throughout this revolution, from when it all started. Let's not go back to the early part of it. Let us take it back from 2016 when it all started. We've observed how the enemy has burned down our communities in a systematic and in a continuous way in Ambazonia. We have observed how they have destroyed and and burn down the resting places of our ancestors, the places that we decided that let our ancestors rest in these places. But we have seen how they have trampled, burned down these places with disrespect, and disrespected the people that laid down their lives to even acquire that place. We saw how they deliberately inflicted pain on our mothers, on our fathers, on our siblings, on our wives, and on our husbands. We have seen how they have burned down our churches, our schools, and prevented our children from going to school. Because of this continuous and systematic burning down of our schools, our villages, our communities, our children are today littered in various bushes in Ambazonia. Amberlanders, we have seen how these people, by their deliberate act, maybe to destroy or to kill that spirit, or that unique spirit, to kill the spirit that we have as a people, or to make us to surrender, they continuously burn down our communities. We all know that more than 250 or more than 280 communities have been razed down in Ambazonia. And the occupants of these communities have been made homeless, and they are hiding in bushes, and others have fled the country, and they are currently refugees in other countries. We have seen how these people have destroyed, have killed, have maimed, have brutalized, have arrested, have disappeared, and thrown in jail are vibrant young men. Some have been slapped with exorbitant jail terms for simply standing up for what is right for them. I just want us to remember all these things. Let us not in a hurry forget the things that the enemy regime has done to us, so that when we are holding them accountable, we will know that we are holding them accountable for these things that they've been doing to our people. Let's not forget, these same people are the people who gathered our youths. They bundled our youths, slaughtered them, set their corpses ablaze. These are the same people who have gathered the main and the most important source of livelihood of our youth, their motorbikes, gather them, set them ablaze, and strip them of their integrity, and strip them of anything that is of importance or value to them, and have forced them to leave their homes and communities and start hiding in bushes. They have caused, or they have rather radicalized our youths. Let us not forget that these are the same people who burned down our grandmothers, our mothers, our grandfathers in their own sleep, in their attempt to make sure that we submit to their annexation in our territory. Let us not forget what happened to Mami Api, what happened to Mami Frida, what happened to Pa Francis, what happened to even young children who could not escape or defend themselves from the recklessness or the arson attacks of La République du Cameroun. They have done all these things to us for nothing but for the simple reason that we are standing to what we believe in our culture, because of our ethnicity, because of our culture, because of the people that we are. They simply want to eliminate us from the surface of the earth. Let us not forget how they gathered and massacred our youths, dumped their bodies in rivers with the hope that the current of the river will wipe them away. Let us not forget. I just want us to remember these things, so that when we are actually putting up a case against La République, we should be doing it because they have done something wrong to us. They have done something that is against the international principles, international humanitarian law, or international laid-down law, norms that are governing revolution or war. Let us not forget how the same people rape our mothers and our young students, our girls in our communities, how they they humiliated and caused our mothers, our women, our girls to crawl in mud, and they did this on camera just to inflict pain on us. Let us not forget how they force young men to rape their own mothers, afterward force them at gunpoint to shoot and kill their own parents. Let us not forget how even a young child of just about 7 months is brutally murdered by the same elements of, by the same forces of La République du Cameroun. Let us not forget how they invaded Pinyin, slaughter and massacre our youths. Let us not forget how they pick up our young girls, rape them, carry their corpses and dump them in the bush. Let's not forget how they arrest, blindfold our young men, tie their hands at their backs, some tied to the trees, and they are shot to death and their corpses dumped in bushes as though they were notorious criminals. Let us not forget how they force our children at gunpoint, causing them to dance to their satisfaction, causing them to do things that no parent will sit and watch their child do at such a tender age just because they want to satisfy their sexual urges. Let us not forget how these same people inflicted pain on our mothers. They have inflicted pain on our mothers. They caused our parents to begin to dig graves in Ambazonia and bury their own children. Let's not forget how they have massacred our young men and women and buried them in mass graves across the Ambazonia national territory with nobody to question their actions. Let us not forget how they have randomly arrested our youth, and they are all littered all over their dungeons for no reason but for simply asking for what belongs to them. I just want us to remember that this is the kind of enemy we are dealing with. I just want us to remember that these are the kind of enemies, this is the kind of monster we are dealing with. Let us not forget how these same people have destroyed, they set ablaze, they burn our churches, they burn our schools. We saw them on cameras burning our markets, our homes, burning our schools, burning even our crops in our farms, polluting our drinking waters, even destroying our own livestock. Let us not forget how these people have even trampled on our own various worship places and destroying everything that belongs or that we hold dear to ourselves. Let us not forget the things that La République du Cameroun is doing, so that these things will definitely, oh, thank goodness. I am happy this came back. I was already almost crying. Sorry for that interruption. I don't know what happened again. Like I was saying before the interruption, I'm saying that we don't have to forget about all these things that the enemy has been doing to us. We have to remember all of these things so that we will be able to hold them accountable for what they are doing to us. Let us not forget how they have killed and amputated our own young men on cameras, making a public spectacle of what they are doing to inflict pain on us. Let us not forget all these things. We saw how they dehumanized our girls, caused them to crawl in mud. We saw how they raped our young girls. They invaded their hostels, brought them out, raped them in broad daylight. Our young men are not safe to walk across Ambazonia. Any young man aged 13 and above is a target for summary execution by the enemies, by the forces of La République du Cameroun. They kill for no good reason. They kill because we are Ambazonians. Let us forget all these things. These are the things we must remember. What they have done to us, the pain they've inflicted on us. Let's not forget how they came and brought down Kwakwa. Let's not forget how they burned down Manu. Let's not forget what they did in Bafut. Let's not forget what they did in Batibo, in Bello, in Bolo. All these places, we cannot forget what La République is doing to us. Let's not forget how they cause our mothers They cause our young men to rape their own mothers. They cause our young men to use guns against their own parents. At gunpoint, they force our young men to rape their own parents and then shot them to death. Let's not forget how they rape our pregnant women, afterward shoot them to death. These are all things that we cannot forget. They burn our homes, they burn our hospitals, they violate our very existence, they violate everything that is valuable to us. They cause our mothers to remain in perpetual pain, bury their children every day and night. Our young men and women are being buried in mass graves all across the national territory, but there is no one to question them. Let us not forget these things, because these are the things that we're going to use against the regime of La République du Cameroun, to hold them, to cause them to stand trial before the International Criminal Court. Let us not forget all these things. I just want to use this opportunity to remind the government of La République that for all these things that I have enumerated, which is of course not even an exhaustive list, to know that these are crimes against humanity. These are war crimes. These are crimes of genocide, and the perpetrators of these crimes will always face punishment before the international legal system. These were the same kind of crimes that the likes of the former ex-Yugoslavia president, Milosevic, they were charged and tried for. These same kind of crimes that are being committed in Ambazonia, this kind of mass murder, burying of people in mass graves, amputating, extrajudicial killings that the army are practicing in Ambazonia, raising down of communities, destroying our means of livelihood, destroying our schools, destroying our marketplaces, destroying our hospitals, especially what just happened in Kumba and what just happened in Kumbu. These are all the type of crimes that the likes of Charles Taylor were charged and tried for. These are the same kind of crimes. Burying of people in mass graves, killing people and setting their bodies ablaze. These are the same kind of crimes that the likes of Adolf Hitler were actually charged and tried for. So we want to remind the government of Cameroon that dictators and autocrats like them across the world will always be charged and tried for crimes like this by the International Criminal Court. I know many people will be saying that Cameroon is not a signatory to the Rome Statute, but I also know that there are other mechanisms, like the United Nations Security Council resolution, that can compel the ICC to open up an investigation on this matter. So I just want to state here that myself, as the head of the Human Rights and Humanitarian Affairs Department of the Ambazonian Governing Council, and my team will in the next days be sending a letter to the prosecutor of the International Criminal Court to open up investigation on all these crimes that the government of La République is committing in Ambazonia and against Ambazonians. We have other mechanisms that, if we're established, even if we are not a signatory to the Rome Statute, the prosecutor can still open up investigation for these crimes. So we want to call on the government of Cameroon to know that we will not rest. We will not rest until all these crimes that they are committing against our people, the atrocities that they are committing against our people, they stand charges and trial for before the International Criminal Court. We know all these things, and we will be sending in a letter to the prosecutor on what happened in Kumba. Hospitals, schools, worship places, churches, these are all safe zones. These are all safe zones under the international humanitarian law, and they have no right whatsoever to bring them down, to raise them down. If the government of Cameroon has gone as far as raising down our communities, raising down our worship places, cultural things, monuments within Ambazonia, burning down of schools and hospitals where people can actually run and take refuge, these are all crimes that are charged under international, are seen as crimes against humanity war crimes and crimes of genocide. We have seen how they have destroyed everything that is valuable in Ambazonia, and they will be charged for it. We've seen how they destroyed even our crops in the farms. These are all things, these are all crimes that are punishable under international law. And we will make sure that La République du Cameroun, that the government of La République du Cameroun actually stands to answer before the international legal system for all this. So it is also very important for the international legal system to maintain these procedures to make sure that dictators and autocrats like Pual Biya and his generals actually stand trial before the international legal system. I just wanted us to be reminded of these things. We cannot afford to forget them, because this is the reason why we are fighting. The reason why we are fighting is because of the pain that they've inflicted on us, because of the mass killing of our people, because of the way they arrest, torture, maim, brutalize our people, cause our people to disappear, and we have never heard of them. These are all crimes against humanity. They carry our boys, blindfold them, shoot them in bushes, and dump their corpses in bushes. These are all extrajudicial killings that they must be held accountable for. We saw the way they decapitated Sam Sawyer. They even have the nerve to make it a public spectacle to cause pain to the people of Ambazonia. We saw how Mami Api was destroyed. We saw how young men who cannot defend themselves get killed like flies on the streets of Ambazonia. No young man in Ambazonia is safe anymore. Once you leave your home, you might not go home alive, especially a young man from age 13 and above. We cannot forget all these things. These are the things that we have to constantly remember that will help us shape what we are doing in this revolution. We bury our young men every day. We see how La République break into our homes, loot our properties, destroy our homes, kill our parents, bury them in mass graves, and because they feel there is nobody to question their actions, they continue to invade in Ambazonia. They continue to destroy our communities systematically. But we also want to promise them that we, the Ambazonian people, we will not be creating those reconciliation committees like the president of the Ambazonian Governing Council, Dr. Cho Lucas Ayaba, will always say. We are not that forgiving generation. They will definitely pay reparation and pay compensation for all what the atrocities that they are committing in Ambazonia. Like I said, my team and myself, we are going to be sending a letter to the prosecutor of the International Criminal Court to open up investigations on all these crimes that we have enumerated. These are all crimes against humanity. These are all war crimes, and these are all crimes of genocide that are being perpetrated and actually been executed in Ambazonia. So they would definitely stand trial for all these crimes. Cameroun is not a signatory to the Rome Statute. That is okay. But we know that there are other mechanisms through which, if they were established, the prosecutor can open up investigation for these crimes. Let's not forget that the United Nations on several occasions has been denied access to investigate these crimes that we are talking about. Let's not forget that international human rights organizations like the Amnesty International have also been refused access to go into Cameroun and investigate these crimes. Let's not forget that the African Union has on several occasions called the government of Cameroun to establish an independent investigation inquiry where they can actually investigate these crimes that we are all saying are being committed in Ambazonia. They claim they are alleged crimes. To them, they are alleged, but we know that these are actually what is happening. These things are actually happening in Ambazonia. Why are they preventing these international bodies from entering and investigating these crimes that we're talking about? Because they are afraid of international scrutiny, because they are afraid that they will go down the road of Adolf Hitler, they will go down the road of Charles Taylor, they will go down the road of the lives of Milosevic. This is why they prevent people from international or independent bodies from entering Cameroon and investigating this. But we will not allow this to go down, because we are the ones, we are the victims. We will definitely take this case up and make sure that the lives of Pual Biya and his general stand trial before the International Court of Justice for the crimes, the atrocities they are committing in Ambazonia and against Ambazonians. This we will do for sure, and we cannot promise you that we will not rest until this happens. This has to do with us. This is for our people. This is for ourselves, and we must make sure that they pay for the crimes they are committing in Ambazonia. Let's not forget that they know the international community is actually watching them. One of the reasons enumerated by the United States General when they were announcing that they are cutting AIDS in Ambazonia was the many atrocities that are being committed in Ambazonia. And he made mention of the fact that some of these atrocities go against the law of war, which means that there is actually something happening there, and we will use this against the government of Cameroon. This thing has been raised not just by the US government. We've seen the Swedish government raise a case in the United Nations Security Council. We've seen other governments raise this case before the United Nations. That therefore means there is something happening in Ambazonia. And for the world to know more about this, we are going to tender that letter before the prosecutor of the International Criminal Court to make sure that these crimes are investigated and the perpetrators of these crimes will be called to book and will be brought to justice. And like I said, on the second, we have like 6 topics to talk about today. So the second one I want to talk about will be about Ambazonia attending an international contenderhood. As a spokesperson of the Ambazonian Governing Council, and as the head of the Human Rights and Humanitarian Affairs Department of the AGC, I can confidently state here that Ambazonia has indeed attained international contenderhood because of the result that we are achieving thus far. Yes, we have indeed attained international contenderhood. Like the president of the Ambazonian Governing Council said last week in his outing, Dr. Cho Lucas Ayaba, he told us, the Ambazonian people, that in the coming weeks, there will be some meetings taking place, and these meetings will be led by the vice president of the Ambazonian Governing Council, Dr. Julius Nye, the Secretary of State, Dr. Larry Ayamba, and other top members of the Ambazonian Governing Council. They will be holding consultative talks with our international partners to further push forward this contenderhood that we've actually attained. We also heard the president said last week that the vice president is holding consultative talks with various stakeholders of the Ambazonian revolution. Yes, the vice president is still doing so. And these consultative talks with the various stakeholders and genuine Ambazonians is actually ongoing. And like he said, they are planning a meeting somewhere in Europe, or maybe not. They might decide to change the venue. But however it is, these stakeholders will definitely come together to enforce, to strategize and enforce the effective way to how we can actually push forward the achievements that we've gotten thus far, and how to we can move forward with this aspect, but working together for the future of Ambazonia. And more of that will be coming up from the vice president of the Ambazonian Governing Council. But what I know is that there are already meetings ongoing. The vice president is working tirelessly every night, day and night, to make sure that genuine stakeholders of the Ambazonian revolution actually come together to make sure that the contenderhood status that we've attained is actually maximized and utilized to free Ambazonia once and for all. And I know, and just we know, let's not forget that attaining international contenderhood by Ambazonia is not just by our doing. It's also due to the various statements that have been made by international actors within the international scene. We've heard the countries like the UK discussing our case within the House of Lords. We saw the US raise our case before the United Nations Security Council. We saw Sweden raise our case before the United Nations Security Council. We've seen videos of parliamentarians in Australia talking about the Ambazonian case. We've seen the German parliament talking about the Ambazonian case. The more these international actors continue to mention the word Ambazonia, it's actually shifting our case from a domestic, what was formerly looked at as a domestic affair, to an international affair, which is what we've all been yearning for. We've all been yearning that this issue, the Ambazonian revolution, or this fight that we're fighting, will not be considered or seen as a domestic issue, but we wanted it to move from the domestic realm to an international issue. And we are happy that at this stage of the revolution, we have actually gotten to that level where our case is no longer looked at as a domestic affair, but international foreign government are actually making sure that this the case of Ambazonia is heard and probably solutions provided. Like the president said, Dr. Cholukas Ayaba said, we have indeed gotten secured people's countries that are actually standing to back Ambazonians to make sure that the government of La Republic pays for inflicting pain on the Ambazonian people for the past 57 years. So we should be proud of what we have done thus far, and we will continue to do that. On this note, I would also like to call on those actors within the Ambazonian revolution, or those people who are still trying to domesticate our revolution, who are still trying to make our revolution look as a domestic affair, to honestly stop it, because they are only promoting the killing of our people on the ground and La Republic's continuous annexation of Ambazonia. So we are gently calling on these same people to actually join the fight for the freedom of Ambazonia. Yes, we are calling on them to join us in the fight for the freedom of Ambazonia. There is no room. It is either you are for Ambazonia or you are against Ambazonia. There is nothing like sitting on the fence. We've gone past that stage where people will continue to sit on the fence. It is either you are for Ambazonia or you are against Ambazonia. If you don't want to fight now, we kindly call on you to step aside and allow the people who understand the pain of our mothers on the ground, who understand what it means to go back to a homeland and find it without young men, to fight this revolution and give Ambazonian freedom so that the lives of our young men can be saved. They should step aside and stop the distraction, so that those who understand what it means for mothers to be digging graves in Ambazonia and burying their own children, to actually stand and fight against the occupation of our homeland. They should honestly step aside so that the people who understand the pain of seeing their brothers and sisters being buried in mass graves across Ambazonia should step in and fight against the occupier or the annexationists and chase them out of Ambazonia and give Ambazonia a free homeland. So we are calling on those people who are still trying to be a distraction in this revolution to actually step aside and allow the leaders of the revolution to take control and give Ambazonian the freedom that we have been lingering in this for so long. We have been standing at the same place for so long. It is time for us to move forward. So many lives have been lost. So many homes have been destroyed. More than 850,000 people are currently IDPs within Ambazonia, and we cannot accept this. More than 200,000 Ambazonians are refugees in Nigeria. We cannot accept this. Even reports are showing that more than 4 million people are affected by this war. We cannot continue to allow our people to go through this pain. We cannot continue to allow our children to stay out of school for this long. We need to finish this and start a new Ambazonia where our people can live freely, where our people can come back and reconstruct their communities and live freely. We plead on those people who are still trying to make this a domestic affair to kindly step aside. When we get to Biya, we will still allow them to come in because they are Ambazonians in the first place. Let them step aside. Okay. Oh, the second point. Okay. I just want to talk about the third point. Sorry, I need to look at this to be sure that I'm actually bringing them chronologically as I arrange them. So I would like to talk about the third point, which is about cutting off of hands and feet in Ambazonia. Ambalanders. I want to state here categorically on this issue of chopping of hands, fingers, and toes or whatever. I want to state here categorically that the Ambazonian Governing Council and its president, Dr. Cho Lucas Ayaba, in the strongest of terms, condemn these acts and their perpetrators, whoever they are within the Ambazonian territory. We condemn this act because these acts go against international law and norms. We will prosecute this revolution with dignity, and we will prosecute this revolution in accordance with the 4 Geneva Conventions, in accordance with any other international laid down principles that direct the prosecution of revolutions like ours. These acts are barbaric, and we will not encourage the continuation of such acts in Ambazonia. We are a people of law, and we must act as such. So we are calling on all those people, all those fighters on the ground who are engaged in such acts to refrain from such acts. They should honestly refrain from committing such acts, because this act, let's not forget, all these acts have been recorded and they have been archived. The perpetrators of this act will definitely be held accountable. If you're not held accountable now or today, you will sure be held accountable in the future. So we are calling on our fighters to not allow themselves to be misled by whoever to entice them to continue committing these crimes, because these are crimes that go against international humanitarian law. These are crimes that go against international laid down principles, and perpetrators of such acts will definitely be held accountable. We are fighting because we are escaping from such acts from La République du Cameroun, from such practices from La République du Cameroun. And if we are charging La République du Cameroun to stand before the international tribunal to answer for the atrocities committed in Ambazonia, that is because we are a law-abiding people. We cannot go out there and continue to do the same things that La République du Cameroun is doing. We cannot and must never go down the path of Sierra Leone, where rebels were used to decapitate their own fellow citizens and have left in that country scars and indelible marks that still live with the population till today, even after independence. We can't go down that path. We will not have an Ambazonia filled with people with half hands. We saw this during the 90s, during the SDF rallies where grenades cut people's hands. Those things happened. Those were grenades that did that. We cannot watch our fellow fighters put their fellow citizens on the scale or wherever and begin to chop their hands. We cannot go down that path. We will prosecute this revolution with integrity, and we will prosecute this revolution based on international norms and principles. So we are calling, let's not forget that every one of us, every one of us will surely be held accountable. Will surely be held accountable for our acts and our commission. Omission, commission, or whatever, we will be held accountable. So don't allow yourself to be deceived by anyone who sits and entices you to go hold your fellow citizen's arm and chop it off. You cannot go down that path. That person may go scot-free, but you wouldn't, because you did it. These things are on record, and these things are kept in archives, and they will be pulled out against you. We have seen a disturbing report, a damaging report that is circulating on the social media today by the DWTV, that is a major news outlet in Germany, reporting the atrocities that our guys are doing on the ground, calling it that we are rising and fighting against our own people. This is not the message we want out there. These are not the kind of messages we want to send out to the international community. This is not why we are fighting. We are fighting La République du Cameroun because of all of these things that we are not trying to do. So we are calling on our fighters to refrain from this act, to restrain from committing such atrocities, so that they will not be standing side by side with La République, with Pual Biya and his generals before the International Criminal Court to answer charges. We want sympathizers. We don't want enemies. You don't go about making the international community your enemy. We don't want enemies for the Ambazonian revolution. We want sympathizers. So we are calling on our fighters and all those people who sit in the comfort of their homes, pick their cause, entice our young men, deceive our fighters on the ground who are giving their all to free homeland, deceiving them to go about chopping people's hands. This is unacceptable, and we condemn this in the strongest of terms and call on our fighters to respect the laid down rules, codes of conduct that are used in prosecuting revolutions. I think the press secretary to the office of the president of the Ambazonian Governing Council, Mrs. Frida Mambo, took this out very strongly yesterday when she sent out a press release speaking against the chopping of hands in Ambazonia. We cannot go down the path of Sierra Leone. Honestly speaking, we cannot use our own to fight against our own. We cannot turn our fighters into rebels who will now be chopping off people's fingers. These scars will live with us. These are indelible marks that cannot be erased by just wiping them away. No, we can't do this. We cannot go down that path. So our fighters, we are calling on you. You're doing an incredible job on ground zero. You're doing so well to defend Mother Ambazonia. You're sacrificing your life, your education, your family, your everything to make sure that homeland is free. We pray that you will continue to do this with integrity. You will continue to do this with integrity so that you will be proud at the end of it all that you fought a good fight for Mother Ambazonia. You fought a good fight for Mother Ambazonia and you left the race. So please, we are calling on you all. Whoever you are, if you're under if you think by doing this you're a hero today, I can promise you, you are going to be zero tomorrow, because when you stand charges before the International Criminal Court, you will move from hero to zero. So we call and advise you to stick by the codes of conduct and prosecute this war with integrity. Prosecute it in accordance with laid down international laws, international norms and principles. I will not emphasize much on that because I think the press secretary already made this known to the people of Ambazonia when she sent out a press release yesterday and an audio message condemning this act. So I'm just gonna move forward, but I still just want to call on our fighters that you are heroes, and we would like to see you as heroes from now to when we enter Buea. Please do not give these people a reason to turn you from a hero to zero. That said, I would like to move to the fourth point, which is actually about recruiting more Ambazonians to join the Ambazonian Governing Council. Ambalanders, we all must be masters of our own destiny. Yes, we all must be masters of our own destiny. In this revolution, I think it's about time for us to not just be observers, listeners, and noisemakers. We honestly have to be active participants in the fight for the freedom of Ambazonia. Let it not be that when we were fighting for the freedom of Ambazonia, you did nothing but make noise on Facebook. You did nothing but observe how people are battling or are struggling day in, day out to give you a free homeland. Let it not be that you will be one of those people that have decided that come rain, come shine, they will just sit on the fence and wait for us to kill ourselves, people to sacrifice their everything, then give them a free homeland. No, we want you to be active participants towards the fight for the freedom of Ambazonia and post-independent Ambazonia. So, in revolutions like ours, or in this revolution, we want you to be able to acquire skills that will be useful for post-independent Ambazonia, that will build you up to become leaders in the future of future Ambazonian that we are all clamoring for. If we are clamoring to have a new nation that is different from the system of La République du Cameroun, then we need people to start building themselves at this stage of the revolution, acquiring those skills that are needed for a post-independent Ambazonia. Leaders that can stand and make decisions, leaders that can articulate and formulate policies, leaders that can see vision, nurture it and build it and make it excel. The Ambazonian Governing Council provides you with that platform where you can be trained and build as future leaders, where you can be trained to articulate policies, where you can be trained sorry about that, I had a call. Where you can be trained to articulate policies and where you can be trained to actually bring forth the skills that you have for the betterment of the country. If we are claiming there is corruption, the agency through its institutions can provide you with these skills. Identify where your strong point is and make sure that you join the moving train to fight for the future of Ambazonia. It's not going to end here. We have a future that we have to build. We have an Ambazonian that we have to build. We have to start identifying what you're best at. You have to start identifying what you can actually offer to your people and start building it at this stage, because independence is just it's just next door. When you attend international contenderhood, you are close to independent. So we need people to start providing their services now and also for a future Ambazonia. The Ambazonian Governing Council, the Council of Missions Chair Lady for the Ambazonian Governing Council, Comrade Mado, in the next days will be sending out a document for open invitation for people to join the agency. This is a platform that will train you, that will train you to become future leaders, on how to articulate and formulate policies, on how to nurture your dreams and make them grow, on how to work with people and work effectively. The institutions are there. These institutions are there. So the chairlady for the Council of Missions of the Ambazonian Governing Council across the globe, missions in America, Europe, Asia, Africa, the one who coordinates this mission, in the coming days will be sending out a document that is calling on the public to actually join the Ambazonian Governing Council, because we know we have talent out there. Ambazonians are talented. We have Ambazonians that are just sitting somewhere, not doing anything for the future of Ambazonia. But we want to give you that opportunity to come on board and put on the table what you have to offer for your people. Don't be that Ambazonian who sits there and complain. Don't be that Ambazonian who sits there and call people names. Don't be that Ambazonian who just sits there and tell people, do you know what I got? Yes, you got it. Bring it on board. That is what we want. That is what we are calling on Ambazonians to do. You can't just have it in there, then you keep it, you just seal it, and then you expect others to perform magic for you. No, bring your magic on board, and let's together put that magic together and build a future for our children that will forever, that people will forever praise you for what you've done. You can't be selfish. You have these skills. Bring them on deck. We need everybody on deck, especially at this point where we have attained contenderhood. We need everybody on deck. So the chairlady is going to be sending out this communique to the various missions and to all Ambazonians across the globe. You are welcome into the Ambazonian Governing Council. If there is need for her to come on this platform and articulate this well to the people of Ambazonia to understand her, I will grant her that audience to do so. Or if there is need for her to go to another platform, she will also have to do so. So I am inviting you all to come on board. The Ambazonian Governing Council is the people's movement. It's a grassroots movement. So we are calling on you all to come on board. Come on board and let us push the struggle forward. That said, and already I hope to see you. You can start calling us already, and an official communique, of course, will be sent out in that respect. The fifth point on my list today is actually about the strategic move of our capital to another location. The temporal strategic move. This is a temporal move that was proposed by the president of the Ambazonian Governing Council. There's been a lot of concern, a lot of talk on social media. The problem with Ambazonia is that they talk a lot. Jesus Christ. There's been a lot of talk on social media and a lot of people raising concerns on social media about the strategic move. The statement made by the president of the Ambazonian Governing Council, Dr. Cho Lucas Ayaba, in his last outing is, of course, a statement that will be implemented if need arises. One thing I want us to know, Ambalanders, I want us to know, and you should never forget, is that when Dr. Cho Lucas Ayaba comes out to make statements as strategic and critical as moving a temporal move of the Ambazonian capital from its original place to another, it must be done. It must have been under consideration, under considerate thought and consideration. It's not just coming on air and talking to people to entice people. He doesn't entice people. He must have thought about it, weighed the gains and the losses, and the need for it to move. It is not just about maybe the location or whatever that you are looking at it. It is for the benefit of the revolution. He said in his outing that he was going to come out and explain further the reason why he wanted to temporarily move the capital to another place. Dr. Cho Ayaba doesn't just make statements. He must have thought of it carefully. And if there is need for it, he is still working on it. If there is need for it to be moved, that territory will be moved. But if there is no need for it to be moved, then it wouldn't be moved. So I just want you to trust in him for this particular statement that he made. He must have sat down with a host of people, reason it out, weigh it out, analyze it, and make sure that this is what is best for Ambazonia. If he thinks it is necessary, we are going to move it. If it is not, we are not going to move it. We will move it. If it becomes a necessity, we will move it for the better good of Ambazonia. So I just call on you all to trust in him, trust in the statement he has made, and know that he will not come out here just to entice you. He must have thought of it. He must have sat on it. He must have slept on it to make sure that it doesn't affect this revolution negatively. He said we are controlling more than 80% of Ambazonian territory. How then is it possible that the international community is not seeing this happen? Have you asked yourself those questions? He didn't just come out to entice you. So trust in him, trust in his leadership, and he will make sure that what he is telling you he was going to do will be for the quicker or for the better, greater good of all Ambazonian people. Okay, that is almost about it. And then on my last point, which is making Ambazonia a contender on ground zero. This particular point, I really honestly want to talk more about it, but I will not really elaborate on it because the deaf chair of the Ambazonian Governing Council will be doing this in his outing, in his next outing, whenever he plans this. But for us to make Ambazonia a contender, I remember when the president of the Ambazonian Governing Council first came out and said, make Ambazonia a contender and you will go to the negotiation table from a point of strength. People didn't understand what he was saying. Today, we are able to stand and say we have made Ambazonia an international contender. Ambazonia has attained international contenderhood, but we must make Ambazonia a contender on ground zero. And we have no two ways to make Ambazonia a contender on ground zero. If we want to make Ambazonia a contender on ground zero, then we have to start replacing those then guns from the hands of our guys, the guns that have caused the lives of our boys on the ground. We have to start replacing those then guns with real guns. Yes, we cannot make Ambazonia a contender on ground zero with then guns. We cannot make Ambazonia a contender on ground zero with 10 guns. There is a project that is ongoing, and I'm inviting you all to join the contender project, the stick project that is currently ongoing within the AGC to replace the 10 guns and make Ambazonia a contender on ground zero. If we must enter Boya and enter Boya fast, this is our collective duty. It is not just for a specific people or a set of people to make this happen. We are calling on you all to come on board, so that we can make Ambazonia a contender. All those people who are still trying to domesticate our case is because we have not successfully made Ambazonia a contender on ground zero. That is because we have actually allowed the Dengons to keep parading the street. We want to make sure that we replace that by the... I don't want to give a period, but we want to be able to replace the Dengons from the hands of our fighters and give them the real weapons that they need to actually defend themselves defend their territory, defend their parents, and then defend their siblings. We have a right to self-defense. We have been self-defending ourselves all along. So replacing a den gun is not any crime. You are just trying to keep our guys alive. We have seen how our guys have gone down. We've seen how they've been massacred mercilessly. But if you want to go home and have a homeland still vibrant with young men, you have to give them, replace from their hands those 10 guns and give them what they need. This project is ongoing. Contact us and make a contribution to the freedom of your homeland. Let it be known, or you can proudly tell your people that during the war, the fight for the independence of Ambazonia, I personally saved a life by replacing a den gun in the hands of a fighter and saving his life and those around him. If you want your name, your initials to be engraved on your stick or whatever, that is very possible. That is very possible, and these sticks will be left wherever they will be collected after independence and kept, and you can find that stick and said, I saved life. I fought for the freedom of my country. So we are inviting you on board. Ambazonia will not be a contender on ground zero if we sit on the social media and call people names from morning to night. We can't be noisemakers from dawn to dusk and we think that we will make Ambazonia a contender. We can't go about pushing a narrative on social media. Our children are dying, our mothers are dying, our women, our children are dying, without doing anything to prevent them from dying. You will only stop them from dying if you replace those 10 guns and give them the materials that they need to stay alive. Make them stay alive first. If they are alive, they will defend your homeland. They will defend the territory. They will give you freedom. It is your duty. It is our responsibility as Ambazonians to make sure that these people stay alive and fight for us. They are not asking for anything. Take up a second job. They are not asking for anything. Your 1,000 cannot be equated to the lives of these guys who are sleeping in bushes. Your $1,000 cannot be equated to the bullets that are flying over their heads every morning and night. That cannot be equated. Somebody called me and said, I have contributed here $300, $400. Oh, please. $300 will not give you freedom. $400 will not give you freedom. It is a continuous process. You contribute and contribute until freedom comes. Don't give $100 today and go home and sit and expect freedom. Freedom is not cheap. You fight for it, you spend for it to be achieved. Don't sit home and give $100 and you expect a Yabacho to give you freedom. It's not happening. You have to sacrifice. Every day you have to sacrifice. People stretch themselves from morning to night to make sure that these guys have granules, to make sure that they even have food to eat to stay alive, to make sure that they replace these 10 guns. You sit and you call their names. I am giving you that open invitation. Don't be a noisemaker. Don't be a name caller. Come on board and take some action. Action is what is going to set Ambazonian free. Talk from now to morning is not going to give us any freedom. It's not going to prevent that home from being razed down. It's not going to prevent our schools from being razed down. It's not going to prevent our hospitals from being destroyed by elements of La République du Cameroun, by their security forces. That is because they can freely parade our streets because they have those what we don't have. Make sure you give our guys what they have. They will face them in a battlefield. Then they will understand that these are not a people to mess around with. You have that open invitation. Make Ambazonia a contender in the homeland. Don't sit on social media and call people names. Call me names. You've been calling me names ever since I joined the struggle, but I've not changed, but I'm still here. Calling on your consciences. That your consciences might prick to you one of these days so that you will know that when you go out there and say our people are dying, is because you have not been playing your part. Play your part and you will save the lives of our people. Play your part and our people will be alive. Play your part and these guys will stop whatever that is happening, because they will be busy. They will be busy. Like I said, the Ambazonian the defense chairman of the Ambazonian Defense Forces will be talking more on this contender project on Ground Zero. I know there is a well laid down plan on how to make Ambazonia a contender, and we can only have this done effectively if you stop talking and stop acting. If you stop talking and start acting. If you stop complaining about €100 or $300 or $200 and begin to put money in the Ambazonian revolution, because those who spend their lives day and night in the bushes is worth more than $200 that you've put in, and you expect freedom. $200 cannot feed them for a night. $200 cannot give them medication when they are wounded. You have to do more than $200. You have to do more than $100 and replace the damn gun. There is no gun that is bought for $300. There is no AK that is bought for $300. So you have to go beyond $200. Stop making noise about $200 and start replacing damn guns and giving our guys the materials that they need on the ground. Whew. Yes, that is almost about it. Calling on us all to rise and take up our responsibility. We have a responsibility to protect. We have a responsibility to protect. We have a responsibility to keep our guys alive. We have a responsibility to feed them. We have a responsibility to clean their wounds. We have a responsibility to make sure that they stay alive. It is only when they are alive that we will be able to fully talk about entering Buea. I want to thank you so much. I really want to thank you so much for taking our time to come out this afternoon. I know many people are still at work, and thank you so much for being here with me now. And like I said, there will be a lot ongoing in the next weeks. I will be sending in a letter to the prosecutor. The chair lady of the Council of Mission will be sending out a communique, an official communique, inviting all of us to come on deck, join the AGC, where you can formulate, they can train you on how to formulate and articulate policies on how you can be nurtured to become a great future leader in the independent Ambazonia. And we are also calling on our great fighters on Ground Zero to refrain from chopping people's fingers. Jesus Christ, stop cutting people's hands off. Let's stop cutting people's hands off. This is against the law. This is against laid down international principles. Let's prosecute this war with dignity. Let's prosecute this war with dignity. We are a law-abiding people. We have been fought because of the cultural system, the legal system that we have adopted. So let us maintain our dignity and continue to prosecute this war with dignity. Stop chopping people's fingers off. We will not go down that path of Sierra Leone. We have said this and we condemn this act in the strongest term. The Ambazonian Defense Forces uphold the code of conduct, and we are calling on all ground fighters to live by their various codes of conduct. If you don't have one, kindly adopt one, because we must prosecute this war based on international legal norms. Lay down international principles on how wars are prosecuted. And we also want to talk about the same issue of contenderhood. The vice president of the Ambazonian Governing Council, like I said, in the coming days will be holding talks with our international partners, the vice president, Dr. Nim, and the Secretary of State, of the Ambazonian Governing Council, Dr. Larry Ayamba, and some top policymakers in the Ambazonian Governing Council will be having consultative meetings with our top partners on how for the way on the way forward. I also mentioned that, like the president said in his last outing, that the vice president will be holding consultative talks with stakeholders of the Ambazonian revolution, genuine stakeholders, those who want a free homeland for the Ambazonian people. They will be holding talks on how to move to enforce, to strategize and enforce the achievement gotten thus far and what a way forward. And we said they will be doing this somewhere in Europe, and they can choose to change location, however that suits them. And the vice president will of course come out to tell the people of Ambazonia how far they've gone with these consultative talks. So talks are currently going on behind the scene. Like I said, action speaks louder than words. If you want to stay on social media and keep talking, but when we enter Buea, you are free to enter Buea. There will be no gate fee to enter Buea. And like I said, on the issue of sorry, I have to make sure. Yeah, on the issue of arson attacks on our territory, we must remember all these things that are done to our people. We must remember these various crimes against humanity committed in Ambazonia and against the people of Ambazonia. These people must be held accountable, and they must stand trial before the International Criminal Court for all the crimes they are committing in Ambazonia. They can rape our mothers, they can maim us, they can brutalize our people, they can arrest and detain our people, slam them with exorbitant jail terms for simply standing up for acknowledging their existence, or because of their ethnicity, or because of their identity. They can just do these things and go scot-free. They can be violating international law, committing extrajudicial killings, decapitating our men and women, raping our mothers, setting ablaze, killing and setting ablaze the corpses of our young men, and think nobody can hold them responsible. We would definitely hold them responsible. They cannot rape our men, our young girls, cause our kids to satisfy their sexual urges. They cannot use our kids and go scot-free. They cannot rape our girls and go scot-free. They cannot dehumanize our women and make them look like nothing in the most barbaric manner and go scot-free. We will surely hold them to book. When Melissovi was doing all these things, he thought he was above the law, but he was definitely held, charged, and tried for this. When the likes of Charles Taylor were doing all these things, they thought there was no law to hold them accountable. But sure, there is a law that will hold them accountable. And we are saying that court, that the International Criminal Court will definitely hold them accountable, even if they are not signatory to the Rome Statute. Once it is established that these crimes are being committed, they will be held accountable. And we are promising them that we will make sure that they stand trial and pay for the atrocities, for the crimes that they have committed in Ambazonia, for the pain that they've inflicted on our people, that they pay reparation and compensation for all our families, the families of Mamiapi, the families of Samsoya, and all those people who have suffered pain in their hand. Our young men whose lives have been cut short and dumped in their various dungeons, they will pay compensation. They will pay for their life. Those who have been buried in mass graves, those who were killed, blindfolded, shot and dumped in bushes, some in rivers, hoping that the river current will flush them away, they will pay for all these things. Our crops that were burned down, our farms that were set ablaze, our livestock that were set ablaze by the barbaric forces of La République du Cameroun, we are promising them that they are going to pay for it. We will hold them accountable. They will stand trial and they will pay for it severely. We have seen our mothers digging graves. It is unheard of. It is an abomination, especially in the northern zone, for women to dig graves and bury their own kids. It is an abomination, and they have forced our parents to go to violate their own very customs because they had no choice. They will pay for it. They will pay for it. Thank you all for coming on. And like I said, those people who are still trying to domesticate the Ambazonia revolution, like we will often say, pack fine. Please, step aside. There is no room for you. We have no more room for people who do not understand the pain of our parents. We do not have that room for people who think the Ambazonian revolution is a laboratory where they can experiment their various failed policies, where they can just use it and do whatever they want to do. Please, those people should step aside and allow those who know what is a revolution, how revolutions are run, to actually prosecute this revolution and bring freedom to our dying people. You can continue singing on Facebook that our people are dying, and you're doing nothing but collecting money. No, that is not going to happen. That is not what we need. And what will happen on ground zero is you replacing the den guns and giving the guys the real weapons. Like I said, the defense chairman of the Ambazonian Defense Forces, when in his next outing, will elaborate more on the issue of replacing the den guns and giving our guys the right material. So I thank you very much, and this is how we will call it a day for today. I will be coming more probably next week with more updates, especially on contenderhood and other real stuffs. So thank you very much for your time, and thank you for watching. God bless you all. And hey, Ground Zero, patriotic salute. Thank you very much.